3 billion people in the world that do not have clean water at home in their house. So they rely on other means to get it clean. Can maybe buy firewood or charcoal to boil the water to make it clean.
This is The Butterfly Effect, a podcast that shows the big impact a small action can do. Tali Orad is talking to those special people that make a difference with nature and trees.
Welcome everyone to The Butterfly Effect. My name is Tali Orad. I'm your host and your butterfly here. I am very excited for today's guest. Joining us from Stockholm, David Wadström. David is the co-founder of Solvatten, a social enterprise with a mission to give people clean and hot solar water at home to reduce the burning of wood and charcoal. David has a background in film and television. He is a storyteller, telling Solvatten stories with the tag Sunshine Stories. David is a father of two, and for him, climate activism gets even more personal when facing with the intergenerational consequence of climate change. So welcome, David, to the Butterfly Effect.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
A pleasure is all mine. Let's start by understanding what is Solvatten.
It basically started 10 years ago with my mother, a clever woman, wanted to make something really meaningful in her life. And she started to think about with different prototypes of jerry cans, plastic jerry cans. One thing kind of led to another, and she started working with these water jerry cans. She found out that these are actually UV sterilizing the pathogens inside the water. With just the help of sunlight, you can destroy all the microorganisms that could be harmful to you to drink. Within a few years, the prototypes started developing to real functioning 10-liter jerry cans, and we got some angel investors on board, and we could start building the first pilot project in the world. Now Kenya, Uganda, Burkina Faso, Rwanda. There's many thousands of Solvatten jerry cans out in the world, making a better place for especially people that live off-grid, where there is no infrastructure or where there is no electricity and the water is really bad.
This is great. So it's a portable plastic jerry can with a solar panel that cleans and heats the water, right?
Yeah.
How exactly does it work?
It renders the pathogens harmless. This UV radiation that is occurring naturally in sunlight, especially the UVB, and has this effect on living tissue that it's destroying the DNA, the inner core, the bindings of the microorganisms. Yeah, they can't reproduce. They're basically kind of sterilized
Mm-hmm.
just by exposing it to sunlight and heating the water up in a kind of in a synergetic effect that occurs there.
So in kind of like if I want to get the full picture, you kind of like using solar panels with the plastic jerry cans, and I saw the picture, so it's black.
Mm.
I don't know if it's black on purpose, but it's solar panel and plastic, and
It's actually not electric, so it's like a passive solar energy that it's using the natural UV light that comes naturally from the sunlight and heat that is
Mhm.
happening when there is a black surface. It can absorb and heats up the water really quick. So there's no electricity or circuits inside it. There's no parts that are electronic in any way. It's just a smart design that kind of allows this synergetic effect to happen.
That is cool. And there's no chemicals in it as well?
No batteries or chemical is needed. It's just sunlight.
That is brilliant.
I know it's wonderful, and we work with so many people all over the world now. There is around 400,000 people that is benefiting from this idea that just started with very much hands-on and want to do something real and real good thing for the world in a way.
Yes. And I've read that Petra was in Australia when she was thinking, let's utilize the sun to help those people, right?
That's where it started, and you live on a continent where we're from Sweden, but during this time when she started mucking about with this idea was the kind of a frustration with people living in such abundance of sunlight, and yet they use so much coal and fossil fuels for just heating up their pools and heating up warm water for washing. And the situation is much better now in Australia. There's much more awareness about solar energy, so there's much more solar panels out there. And
Right. And how many countries use it?
it's being used in 40 countries. I've been traveling in Haiti, South Africa,
Hmm.
Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and even India. People live with very similar conditions when they are living in this exposed environment that's poverty, where you don't have what many of us think just comes for granted,
Hmm.
fresh water from a tap, or don't have to this struggle to heat up the water with boiling it with fuel wood. And that's kind of what comes in with trees, and how we also save the use of firewood every day.
Right. So this is one advantage, right? It reduces the greenhouse gas, and it's also we're not burning as much trees as we would
Hmm.
if we were to boil water, right? Are there
Yeah.
any other advantages to the solution besides that?
Well, you see, there's around 3 billion people in the world that do not have clean water at home in their house, so they rely on other means to get it clean. And if they can afford it, they can maybe buy plastic bottles, or
Hmm.
they can buy water in a tap from faraway distance, and they can maybe buy firewood or charcoal to boil the water to make it clean.
Hmm.
Now with Solvatten kind of halving the amount of firewood that is being used in a household. Before, they spent many dollars a day just to buy charcoal and firewood. Now with Solvatten, they cost saving with around 50%.
Wow.
So that can translate into really big numbers.
How much does it cost for them?
We work with the UNHCR in the refugee camps, and it's really hard to ask people to purchase these units without a heavily subsidized price.
Hmm.
We tend to see it more like a registry fee, where people that want to join the program, they may be mothers with newborn kids, that they just symbolically pay something,
Hmm.
or they make a promise or commit to planting trees or building a latrine, improving the sanitation facilities in their house.
Hmm.
So it's kind of conditional in a way, but mostly that is with the UN, with the organizations, to give advice on how we can sustain use and uptake of the solution, because it's no solution if nobody's using it, right?
Right, of course. Speaking of using it, you mentioned 10 liters. Is that enough for everything they need to do? You cook with it, do you drink? I don't know if it's being used for other things. I mean, laundry can be done in cold water, but
Hmm.
is that enough?
Of course, 10 liters are easy, to maneuver and carry around and handle.
Hmm.
So there's the benefit of being portable. And if you start early in the morning, you have the possibility to do it maybe 2 or 3 times per day. So then you're up around 30 liters of water on a daily basis. And for drinking, yeah, that's perfect. Of course, washing, cooking, and using it for preheating the water before eating or for cooking something.
Hmm.
Of course, you could live very well with 30 to 40 liters of hot and clean water.
So they need like three or four for household, or is the community together using it? How do you see people using it?
We see both schools and families and health clinics using it for what they are doing. The average person maybe drink around half a liter or a liter a day. If there's a big crowd, you can have a few of them. The portability again, and ability to adjust it kind of in so that it's directly facing the sun. In the morning, the sun rises in the east, so you gotta shift the position of the Solvatten jerry can from one position earlier in the morning till later in the afternoon. So you have ability to move it. So that's a plus with having something that is portable.
And how long does it take to heat up?
About 2 to 6 hours, really depending on the weather. But it's in the tropics there is abundance of sun, and we see about an hour and a half, 2 hours on average.
Do you see it being used in a commercialized way, even in Western countries, not just developing countries? I mean, I see there's so many benefits, right?
Hmm.
So why not suggest it to others? Not everybody has to, right?
Yeah. Do you have a country house, or do you live sometimes off grid? How would you look at yourself doing without electricity?
I do camping, but that's for 24 hours. It's okay with
Yeah.
no shower. I
Yeah.
bring my water, but I'm thinking there are countries that you heat your water to
Mm,
take a shower, right?
mm,
I heat my water to take a shower. I get hot water in my tap,
mm,
just coming as hot. So I wonder if there is a way to do it so we don't use so much fossil fuel or don't
mm,
use so much energy, because there is going to be energy being used to heat my water,
mm.
everybody's water
Yeah.
somehow.
And it's plenty of sunlight for everybody. It's just a way to utilize it, be smart about different technologies, and think about things that can be double good. you know
Right.
to answer the question about commercial, and there is of course a possibility to think of Solvatten as a purely kind of commercial product, but every household that is struggling with off-grid, with blackouts and electricity shortages, constantly poor water qualities, they are the ones that we want to sort of help, and finding a way for them to be able to purchase the unit without too high price. So there's that's dilemma in a way.
Right.
We just focus on off-gridders or preppers and the doomers in the US. I'm sure we could sell units, but we would love really for more people that have no
Needed.
a little
Yeah.
hope to have more hope for the future.
Maybe subsidize it by
Mm,
those, anyone that you buy, you donate one to
yeah,
countries that need it.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we have that on the website where you can actually buy one, and we will give leaders to people. Part of the proceeds goes to support our projects.
Hmm.
We don't want people just to buy it to have it. I mean, it's better that it's used by somebody who really needs it, right?
Yeah, and it's not just hot water, to be clear. It's hot water and it's pure water. It cleans it.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
just heating it up, but you can live without heating it up, but I don't think
Mm,
it's good. Yeah. I know in 2013, President Barack Obama visited the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, and Petra was given the opportunity to present it and explain it to him. I mean, I'm assuming you were there as well.
yeah, yeah, that's
Can you
correct.
share with us how it was?
There was a phone call to our office here in Stockholm in the beginning of September, and they said, "Well, we have a special request from somebody at the foreign department. There's a delegation coming to Sweden, and the President Barack Obama has expressed his interest in Solvatten and want to know more about what you are doing." And well, that's a phone call you don't forget, really, is it?
Yes.
And then we had some good 10-minute talk with him. We demonstrated how it works and why we were doing it. I showed him a few pictures of a project near Homa Bay, in the close proximity of Lake Victoria, where Barack Obama actually has relatives. So he was
Mhm,
really, wanted to know what is our take on, getting millions out into Kenya and elsewhere.
mhm.
That was amazing.
Did you ask any technical questions, or was it more high level?
We spent time talking about how we position ourselves into this with the sustainable development goals, and how we want to position ourselves for others so
Mhm.
that more people can collaborate with us and work together with us, because collaboration is key, right?
So I guess it was a good visit from President Barack Obama.
Yeah, that was fun. And we do we do have visitors from other countries, ministers and influential people coming to our little office here. There was recently a delegation from Indonesia with 30 people from this delegation, and Ministry of Water and Energy Department, and for women, and for sustainable development. So there was really a big crowd in the small conference room.
And they were looking at ways to implement it.
They were looking at ways to implement it, and see that, especially in Indonesia, where there is so many islands, it's hard to reach. People are living on a million islands, and there's constantly hurricanes or cyclones and other natural disasters, volcanoes,
Hmm.
eruptions, and tsunamis, and so on. So they're constantly being battered
Right.
in this part of the world. So if we can help to build resilience and help them to support their people, well, be just exactly what Solvatten is here to do.
And were you considering, besides working with the UN, working with the Red Cross? Because Red Cross is usually the name you hear when
Mm.
there's a natural disaster, and
Yeah,
they are the one giving help, and they're the first one on the scene. And I'm
yeah.
sure you're right.
Red Cross is really big.
Yeah.
We have a way to work with these organizations, the UN organizations, the charitable foundations, the NGOs. We very pragmatically want them to try a few and write a few. We right now we're working a lot with Plan International
Hmm.
and the Lutheran World Federation and the UNHCR. Those are the three big implementers at the moment.
What is the impact Solvatten has on trees and the environment besides not burning charcoals?
We have a way to calculate the savings of 5 to 6 trees per Solvatten unit per year. That's equally around 60 trees in its expected lifetime. So we have done third-party studies that show that each Solvatten unit is saving around 1 ton of CO2 per year, and that is then monitored and reported into a registry, and we build a volume of carbon emission savings, and people, companies, private persons and companies can offsets from our projects, and that's kind of how we do most of the financing for the projects.
And what is the lifetime of a jerrycan?
Theoretically, every Solvatten has a lifespan of around 7 to 10 years. You will be able to save around 70 tons or 70 trees of these kind of mid-sized trees, and the equivalent of that is roughly 1.5 ton of CO2 emissions that is trapped and staying in the earth, not being emitted into the air.
And more than that, the trees will actually do their job and absorb more carbon, not
Exactly.
just save what
Yeah,
they already have. Yeah,
exactly. That's the value of the trees are multipliers, right?
definitely. Now, this is the butterfly effect, and
Mm.
we're talking about trees. And you have a background in film and television.
Mm.
I know you are now, as a storyteller, telling the Solvatten stories, the tag of Sunshine Stories. So
Mm.
I'm going to challenge you now, and I'm going
Mhm.
to ask for a story that is in line with what you guys are doing and trees and nature, and
Mm.
see how it goes.
Well, the avocado trees in Kenya, they are amazing. The fruit in its size, it's almost like a basketball. And you travel to the interior and you meet with a group of people, and yet they have this natural gathering point in the community under this massive avocado tree. We had a presentation of Solvatten just under it. We were given a wonderful dance and song after we did the presentations and the demonstrations and everything. And to bring back these avocados back home, eating them, you have a bite of Africa back in Stockholm. That's kind of an amazing experience. We've actually been so close to where the avocados are really growing naturally.
My grandmother, she's not alive anymore, but I remember as a kid sprouting an avocado seed and growing that tree in her backyard. That I think the avocado tree is still there.
Mm.
She's not, I'm not, but the
Mm.
avocado tree is still there.
That's a wonderful fruit, wonderful vegetable.
Thank you, David. This is a wonderful story. I'm sure it's just a one of many. So if you come up with more, please feel free to share.
So I'm sitting in a room with a bunch of photographs. One is from Pokot in North Kenya, and you see this man sitting by the roadside. Next to him, he has three big piles of charcoal or sacks of charcoal,
Hmm.
which he's gonna sell to people passing by on the road. These three sacks of charcoal is gonna bring him maybe a $2 or $3, and it takes a lot of time for him to do three big sacks of charcoal, right? And it takes a lot of wood that he have to walk into the bush, cut and then make charcoal of. So in this picture I took when we were traveling in the north with one of the organization that was just environmental organization trying to get more renewable energy into people to use more renewable energies such as solar.
Hmm.
So we could directly see when we stopped by the roadside how Solvatten could both help this man to switch into more renewable energy and could help him to save money instead of making money on chopping down trees.
Hmm.
We're all support for the forest and the trees because without it there's no water. So we have to keep the trees and in place for so many reasons, for weather and for life. It's a sustainer of life.
Right.
This man from Pokot, and it's not dignified in a way that he spends his days cutting down the forest and selling the charcoal illegally to the black market.
Hmm.
But it's the only way that he can do it. So you have to replace it with something good that he can actually do.
Right. He won't cut the trees if they will not be needed, but will he be able to do something else? That's a bigger question, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we have to give people the option of doing something else, and that's kind of how you start the big change,
Hmm.
by giving people alternative ways to boil water, to prepare food.
So we talked about not cutting trees. We talked about the fruits. We talked about water. What is your favorite tree, David?
Oh, I love the alm. In Sweden, we have these trees that are alm trees, and they have rounded leaves.
Hmm.
They're very slow growing in a way, so that they can sustain their size for a long time, but they get so dense in the core, in the flesh, so to speak. We have a number of parasites that's giving them this disease, so there are less and less of them. So I really want them to be around for my grandkids because they're amazing trees.
How do you say tree in Swedish?
Träd. Träd.
Trad.
We have this a with two dots on top of them, and that
Uh-huh.
goes ah.
Okay. Thank you so much, David, for joining me today.
Now I'm excited to be part of a 1 trillion project because we need to do collaborative efforts to sustain this world, and we need to inspire people that we can do things.
Yes. We need to come together. We need to act. We need to act now. Thanks again, David. And thank you, everyone, for joining me today at the Butterfly Effect. I really appreciate you coming on this journey with me, and I hope to see you next time. And remember, it only takes a small action to make a big difference. Be a butterfly.
And that's all for this episode. Thank you for joining us today. Please subscribe to hear more of our stories of change.